We all need to work with our anger, because this is something that every person has. Basically, anger is the reaction to something that we seem to, to label as dangerous, or basically dangerous. So this is like a very natural instinct, and in general, like this reaction is necessary for us to survive. If we see some dangerous animal, we are like scared and angry, and because we have this reaction, then we run away, and this way, we survive. This way, the life goes on. So basically, the reaction itself is like, oh, there's something dangerous, so something I don't like. And the reaction is to push away, to run away, It's like this, and we should be aware that everybody has it, including ourselves. So that's the first point, that to acknowledge that actually anger is something very natural to our mind. Let's put it this way. On the other hand, we obviously can see that some people are more angry and some people are very kind and so on. And so those people who are kind, first of all, they understand that anger in general can be very unproductive. And second, they have positive attitudes. They have attitudes when they care so much about others that even though there's something they don't like, they don't really react this way. It's like if you have this kind attitude to people, like imagine like a mother to her child, then whatever the child is doing, you will not react like very angry. You will be like, oh, how sweet, how interesting, and so on. It's a little bit a spontaneous talk, but and before I go on, I just want to emphasize that anger, the way it is like shown in women and men, is a little bit different. Anger is ugly for both genders. If a woman is angry and shouting, it's ugly. If the man, it's also. But there are also some differences. First of all, one more point that I want to say, that anger is always the sign of weakness. We are angry when we are out of control. So basically it's a sign of weakness. It's a little bit like an angry child who didn't get what he or she wanted. And the reaction of a grown-up person should be, okay, you can decide for yourself, it's your choice, I don't have to get angry, and so on. Whatever the other person is doing, this could be our reaction. But sometimes we behave like kids and start, like really getting out of our control. And if we don't work with our minds this or that way, then it can be that anger really catches us and brings us in a funny situation. So I think without self-work, without using different methods, I also use some methods, to work with my emotional world in general. And I don't say exactly what I do, because I think people are so different and they start from such different places that what works for one does not necessarily is going to work for another. And therefore, I just want to mention that I think it's very important to work with your emotions, and especially with anger, because anger really can destroy so much and so quickly. And when it comes to relationships, for example, it can be just 5 minutes of anger and the relationship is damaged forever. Or a business partnership, partnership. Because anger is a sign of weakness, that the person is out of the control. When the person starts shouting or something, you know, or getting angry, kind of like a little bit aggressive in a way, then when a woman is angry, then if it's like in a relationship, then a man can see that his woman is very weak and very unattractive in this moment. And it's really not nice. When a woman sees a man angry, shouting, aggressive, she knows he's weak. And when a woman like sees her man being weak, for her it's also a sign that she can never be safe with this man because he's weak. And there can be some different situations in life where he can react the same way instead of actually solving the situation. So when the man shows his anger and his weakness this way, he's not only not attractive in this moment, he's kind of like losing her trust in him, that he can manage situations, that he can be a protector, that he will not freak out in difficult situations, but he will like be cool, you know. Like they say, big dogs don't bark. It's only small dogs, you know. Big dogs, they don't need to bark. So I'm trying to say that when a guy gets loud and aggressive and angry, I think it's even worse, even though a woman should also never allow this, and it's ugly and unattractive as well, inappropriate. It's just when a guy does it, he just shows that he can be so weak and can really lose control. So I would say for a guy, this would this is the last thing you want to show to your woman. And a second extra flavor here when the man is doing it is that because he's getting aggressive and angry and loud, it also shows for her that she cannot, it's not only not safe to be with him because he cannot solve situations and maybe just freaks out and runs away, but it can also show that it might not be safe around him because he might get aggressive also towards her and physical maybe, you know. So for women to see a man aggressive this way can also be the reaction like, wow, he might hurt me, you know. So again, it's like for both sexes, it's terrible, one should not do it. But just if the guy does it, there are some extra flavor which is not in the guy's favor. And you say, but how do you react if the other person, man or woman, is doing something completely inappropriate? Well, the best reaction is not to get angry, not to lose control, but to show that you cannot accept this behavior. And you can show in different ways. First of all, like big dogs, you know, they just stay cool. So you can stay cool and you can say, you know, this behavior is really not appropriate. So, and if this is so bad that this is completely like not acceptable, then you just walk away. You just say goodbye. If it's her place, you leave. If it's your place, you ask her to pack her stuff. That's simple. But if it's something like not that you would leave the relationship, it's not so big from the person, then you can say, You know, this is something that I don't accept in relationships, and if this is something that you're going to continue in the future, you know, I'm not going to accept that. So you have to decide if you like go for it or not. And it's good also to distance, at least for maybe for some days, you know, to distance yourself, because sometimes, you know, it's very hard to decide at the very moment if it's like the final situation where it's like no go or when there's still like you might think, okay, I could forgive this person, you know? And so it's good to distance in both cases, and then to see your reaction, the person's behavior, because if your reaction is like, actually I could forgive, and then the person actually comes and asks for forgiveness, then you could continue the relationship. Yeah? But if the person doesn't come to ask for forgiveness, or if you feel, well, actually it was already bad enough, it's something it's like even if the person comes and asks forgiveness, I cannot accept that anyway, you know. So you can see and watch and see, you know, it's good to give yourself space and time, space without this person around, distance yourself, and never, you know, get angry, lose control or shout in this situation, because if the person is doing something inappropriate and then you answer with some inappropriate behavior by getting aggressive, angry and shouting, then both of you are doing something inappropriate already, and then this person has to ask for forgiveness for the behavior, the other person has to ask for forgiveness for the reaction, and then both are screwed in a way that both made mistakes, and then they don't know who should ask forgiveness for what. So really, if something wrong happens, you should be like doing your best to try to be cool and to handle things in a different way. Distance yourself. If the person really wants to know what the person done wrong, or is ready to ask for forgiveness and never repeat this again, then you can continue the conversation. But your angry reaction to things you don't like will only make things worse. And then this person, instead of asking for forgiveness, will say, well, your behavior is inappropriate now. You know, so when you get angry, you lose. You always lose. Man or woman, you always lose. And anger really destroys so much and very fast. So you should never play with this. And especially as a guy, this is the last thing you want to do, is getting aggressive or loud, because you just show that you're so weak. And to show weakness for a guy, this is the last thing you want to do. You will be so unattractive in her eyes in this moment, and maybe she will be even scared of you and wants to run away from you for that reason only. So, and also, you know, it was always like this, that it was more acceptable for women to lose like temper in situations where she gets scared. For example, she's somewhere in the woods and some dangerous animal is coming, and she starts screaming and freaking out because she wants to hope that somebody can hear this scream and come and protect her and save her, yeah, some guy. So that's why there is this reaction from women, like something is scary, something she doesn't like, she's like freaking out and shouting. It's not attractive, but this is like more natural reaction from women, because she's weak in this situation, and she shows this, she admits this, yeah, that she needs help. That's why she's screaming like hell, asking for help. But it was never a man freaking out and screaming for help in the forest because he saw an animal or something. Because when he sees an animal, he fights with the animal or runs away, but he never screams, he never loses control. Because he needs to make sure that he either kills the animal and provides for his family, or runs away from the animal so that he can continue providing for the family. And also maybe runs in the way that also to check if the animals will also not get his wife and his children, in the cave, so to say. So the man very naturally never would freak out because something is like unpleasant or threatening, And for a woman, it's more natural. It's her reaction because she is weak. Basically, she's weak. That's it. And again, women should not do this also, but it's just more ugly for men to show anger, even more ugly. I don't know why I'm doing this video. I just had this spontaneous thought to do it because I think there is some misunderstanding about how people show their power and their strength. And sometimes people think that to show their power to somebody like opposite sex or something, that they need to be angry and loud and shout. Woman or man, both can think like this, like I will show him who's the boss here, or I will show her, this kind of aggressive approach. And I think many people mistake it for being really strong and to really show your strength. And this is where you stay cool, you stay under control. Because you don't need anything from this person if this person isn't behaving inappropriately, especially on a regular basis. You just walk away because you're fine on your own, or we can talk. If the other person still wants to talk, then we can talk. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I just wanted to make this video. It's kind of adding to this topic of personal development, because working with your emotions, with your mind in general, like what happens in your mind, your reactions to the world and what happens to the world. It's very good to be aware and to be able to work with this. In this video, I'm not going to talk about different methods, how to work. It's just, I wanted to, just to mention that this is a huge misunderstanding. Very often, like when it comes to anger and showing your power, it's like completely opposite and it's counterintuitive sometimes. And if you want to be a free person on all levels, emotional, financial, and so on, that this channel is for you. Consider subscribing to this channel. Check out some other videos about building freedom in life, so you can become a person without emotional and financial baggage, so that everybody around you can benefit from being around you, that you can also, unpack, discover all the potential you have, because nothing really, keeps you tightened and like, If you watched this video so far, make sure to give it a like. It really helps promote this video on YouTube, so that other people can also see this video and hopefully get benefit from it. Let me know in the comments if this was useful. Maybe you have some other extra thoughts when it comes to dealing with anger and how you see anger in general. Do you agree with me, like what I was saying on this video, that anger is a sign of weakness? Or do you have some other ideas to this? And if you subscribe, then I will see you in the next video. Stay cool, stay strong, and stay free.